Hello folks, it is a nice hot morning here in the Palmetto state of South Carolina. Are we in the deep south yet? Where does that line between the regular south and the deep south happen? Are we within the limits? Are we within that deep south territory? I don't know. South Carolina is made up of many regions. One could start with the difference between upcountry and low country, and then there's other regions like the Grand Strand or the historic 96. Where we are is the center, smack dab in the middle of South Carolina, and it's dominated by the influence of the city we are in. This is the capital of the Palmetto state, Columbia. Where we were in Congaree National Park yesterday was also in the center of the state. We are actually only like 20 minutes away of a drive from that national park. It's a very small, secluded area, but enough of Congaree. We had that yesterday. Today we're talking about Columbia, the capital. And the first thing I notice from this environment in the city is just the amount of churches you can see. Maybe it's just Christianity's hold on the South of the United States, but this whole street is filled with churches. I mean, you could see the spire right above me. There's a church over there, church in front of us, church over there. There are so many churches here in Columbia. I mean, go figure, we arrive here on a Sunday morning and what do you expect? To hear the church bells.
I mean, especially they've been around the block.
An impression you might get when you first visit Columbia and arrive here is just the amount of order and beauty in this city. It is a very beautiful city. Like Raleigh, North Carolina, another place we have gone to here in our Southeast tour, Columbia is an example of one of those early planned cities in America. Oh, that is so interesting. Are we south enough where the climate is warm enough to harbor these palmetto trees, I believe? We're finally getting a glimpse at the South Carolina state tree. Isn't that great? But anyway, additionally, similarly to Raleigh in North Carolina, Columbia was named after a person. I don't know why I'm talking about Raleigh, North Carolina in this video, but it was named after Sir Walter Raleigh, the person who famously found that lost colony of Roanoke. But Columbia was named after a much more famous person in history, Christopher Columbus. Today, Columbia, South Carolina stands as the second most populous city in South Carolina, only behind a city that I will not mention because I will be going there as well, and we'll get to cover that place in addition. And look what we have here. It's a grand old governmental building. Another one that we've seen here for the coverage project. This is the state capitol building of South Carolina. Well, what do you think of the state capitol building? Seems like this building really wants to make it known that it is standing proud and large, and it is definitely one of the more grand capitol buildings I've seen. And there's that copper dome that seems to be having some sort of patina on top. But then, you know, you have the steps, the marble columns, the very decorated designs. What else do you expect from a state capitol building? Now, I'd love for us to go inside and explore the interior, but given that it's Sunday and we're in the South, oh, there's no shot of that happening. We are not getting in that building, for sure. Additionally, we are in the state capital of South Carolina, a very culturally southern state, of course, so you're going to have statues and memorials to a lot of southern heroes. For one, Strom Thurmond, a very popular politician in the 20th century representing the state of South Carolina. And of course, a Confederate monument. And without getting too much in-depth into that murky territory of discussion, I will say this. Would you expect anything else of a southern state? Would you expect it not to have a Confederate statue? But anyway, this is the South Carolina State Capitol Complex. Okay, it is so confusing when a state capitol building has two sides that both look like legitimate entrances. This actually wasn't the first state capitol building of South Carolina. The first one was completed generations before. During the Civil War, towards the end of it, the building was completely destroyed by the Union Army, thanks to General Sherman. And he was the guy who implemented a scorched earth policy that meant everything that helped the enemy win, they had to burn it all down, destroy any trace of it. So the original building was completely wiped out. This second building, however, was in the midst of construction, and it was attacked and destroyed a little bit. Now that star above us tells us that this point was one of the points on the Capitol building that was hit by the Union Army during this building's construction, either by cannon fire or other ammunition. And it's actually incredible just to think about that much of Columbia as it was then was destroyed by the end of the Civil War. So it's amazing how over the years and generations they have slowly rebuilt themselves to be actually quite a modern city, sandwiched between many different emerging powerhouse cities of the South, such as Atlanta and Charlotte. Able to see the emerging growth of this city in its modern form when we go downtown. Hey, that's a perfect segue. Yeah, let's go downtown now. So here we are in the downtown of Soda City. Yes, it's called the Soda City. I kind of like that, you know, so many cities and towns have their nicknames, but they're not that really identifiable, you know? The Elm City, the Plum City, who knows about those? But if you're from the South, you will know about the Soda City. Abbreviated, Columbia is COLA, which is soda. There you have it, the Soda City. So here we are in downtown Columbia, and it looks like an old city, as are most major cities when you get to the downtown area, because of the unfortunate business that was the slave trade. Many slaves were sent here to work on the cotton fields. The cotton plant was very profitable back in the mid-1800s, and Columbia sprung up as basically the center of the cotton trade. With the advent of the railroads coming into towns, this was the perfect place to bring the loads of cotton and send them all across the country. Later on, Columbia was not only home to just the cotton industry, but other industries, textiles, and other mills sprung up like the ones you see here. I love when the old painted signs are still up in a modern city. Brings you back to the time, so I love it. But since then, the economy of Columbia has truly diversified, along with, yes, being the state capital. It's also home, let me tell you people, to basically two things: Fort Jackson, a military installation, and the University of South Carolina, its flagship college. So most likely here, you'll see around two types of people around my age. Either a miserable cadet going through basic training, or a miserable college student going through the slog and hardship of all the work that comes with university. Much like the city of Raleigh in North Carolina, if we're going to draw another comparison. They're pretty similar cities. Columbia also sits on the fall line. The fall line being the area where the rolling hills of the Piedmont area in these Atlantic states transition into the coastal lowlands, very close by the coast. So because Columbia sits right on that fall line, there's a lot of rapids, and it makes for some precarious conditions trying to traverse that river. So in 1824, a canal, the Columbia Canal, was completed off the back-breaking labor of Irish indentured servants. And that's what makes this huge canal, so that goods and resources could be shipped from the upcountry of South Carolina all the way down to the location we will be getting to next, which is a port city, right next to the Atlantic. So what is this mighty river behind us with all those rapids? Why, this is the mighty Congaree River. This is that same river that we were talking about yesterday in Congaree National Park. The Congaree River is a tributary of the Santee River, one of South Carolina's most prominent watersheds. And so now it makes a bit of sense. If you were tasked with delivering cargo up and down this river, and you found all those rocks, you'd be in a pretty tough situation. So of course, that's why the canal behind us was built. In the recent decades, the city of Columbia has made it a duty to preserve the culture and history of this canal. So what did they do? They made a giant river walk that's right nearby a lot of those college-style apartments. Now this Congaree River isn't the longest of rivers. It flows for around 50 or so miles. It starts with the confluence of two other rivers that go up way into the upcountry of South Carolina, the Saluda and the Broad Rivers. But once it reaches here in Columbia, those two rivers join together and form this mighty river as it goes across these rapids and flows through a good part of South Carolina until it reaches the famed Lake Marion. And from there it reaches the Santee River. I really love this view of the Congaree River because it gives you an ideal sense of the climate, the weather, the environment you can expect here in Columbia. As much as this is a big city, you can still find the original natural landscapes of this area. We're south enough that you see all this lush vegetation. We're also at such an elevation above sea level that it's not too marshy and swampy. It's a nice, lush, green landscape. Altogether, Columbia in South Carolina provides a nice, calm environment to spend a day here. If you want southern charm combined with a laid-back atmosphere, Columbia might just be for you. Alright, I think it's just time for me to relax for the rest of the day. Overall, as you saw, the city of Columbia is way more than just a capital city. It's got its own personality to it, doesn't it? So with that said, I may as well take the rest of the day to relax. The Southeast tour does not stop. We are only continuing into new regions and new states. Tomorrow we'll be heading to the Low Country, where we'll get to see a little bit different of a culture, even though we're in the same state. I know it. I love how it works like that. So yeah, chilling out by the banks of the Congaree River here in Columbia, capital of the Palmetto State. More travels to come. I will see you at the next location.